On today's show, the NBA Draft Lottery is Sunday, May 12th. What happens if the Houston Rockets receive some lottery luck from the sports gods? Who are some of the targets at the top of the draft that the Rockets should be interested in? And could any of those targets find their way sliding down to pick number 9 if the Rockets do not jump up in the lottery order? It's all coming up on today's Locked On Rockets.
This is Mission Control, Houston.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's up and welcome to another edition of Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. As always, I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, native Houstonian and credentialed media member. I'm also the host of Locked On NBA Mondays. Be sure to follow along wherever you listen to your podcasts, including YouTube. Just search Locked On Rockets. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. This fast-paced game lets you team up with friends for time tournaments to unlock awesome prizes like unique stickers for trading, cool playing pieces, and hilarious emojis. So download Monopoly Go now free on the Google Play Store or the App Store. And as always, thank you so much for making Locked On Rockets part of your day every single day, whether it's on your way to work, on your lunch break, in the gym. Thank you for being an everydayer. And joining us now is your weekly co-host, NBA draft enthusiast, and diehard Houston Rockets fan, Madison Moore. You can track down on Twitter at MadmanLeaks. Here to tackle an interesting hypothetical as we approach the NBA draft lottery, where the Rockets possess not only their own pick, even though it is technically owed to OKC, but they have their own pick sitting at number 12 in the draft lottery, and then they also own the Brooklyn Nets pick, sitting currently 9th best lottery odds. So between those two picks, the Rockets actually have a 27.4% chance for one of those picks to jump into the top 4 of this year's NBA draft. And so on today's episode, Madison's got a few names picked out for us that we're going to discuss. We'll spend one kind of segment each on each prospect of some of the names that the Rockets should be interested in, should be, keeping an eye on at the top of the draft if one of their picks, either the Nets pick or the Rockets pick, actually manages to jump into that top 4. And again, a quick reminder here, even though the Rockets pick is owed to the OKC Thunder, they have top 4 protections on it. So just like a few years back, the pick in 2021 that they ultimately used on Jalen Green, they had top 4 protections on that pick as well. And thankfully it landed in the top 4 and they were able to keep that pick. So currently, this time around, it's only a 7.1% chance that they managed to keep their pick, with the Rockets pick sitting at 12 and the potential of that one to jump into the top 4. My God, Madison, how hilarious would it be if they managed to keep both of these picks from OKC, especially this one, since it's only a 7% chance to become a top 4 pick?
It'd be amazing. That's what we're talking about. Are we talking about 2 more lottery picks in the cupboard, more young players? We're going to have to expand this young core. And I know the Rockets are just going to have a gluttony of young all-star prospects. But yeah, I think it's very important that we get to talk about these guys. I know the lottery's coming up this Sunday. And with these increased odds, with us having 2 different chances to jump into the top 4, it'll be fun to talk about these type of guys, especially because a lot of these guys fit a need that the Rockets need right now and long term.
All right, so Madison's got 3 names picked out for us here. One of them we've talked about a little bit here already on the show, and that's Alex Sarr, currently playing in the NBL for the Perth Wildcats. We'll get to some of his information here in a minute. We got 2 more guys picked out as well that we're going to get to in segment 2. And in segment 3, we're not going to spoil him here early. But Alex is the guy that I know the most about, I guess, Madison, from the jump, because we've talked about it before. There's not like a de facto number 1 pick in this draft, it feels like, or a consensus number 1 guy. But he's the guy, at least from a Rockets perspective. If you told me the Rockets got the number 1 pick in the draft tomorrow, tonight, whatever, I think I'm probably walking away with Alex Sarr. I think that's the pick that makes the most sense. I think it's the pick that gives the Rockets a different, another look of things defensively at the 5, or another piece, another player that they can put alongside Alperen Sengun at the 4, potentially. Right? He's, first off, incredibly versatile guy who can play, multiple areas of the floor defensively. He's 7'1". He's got a 7'4" wingspan. He's kind of like a jumbo-sized wing, pseudo wing, pseudo big, good mobility. But give me your breakdown on him. Give me your elevator pitch for Alex Sarr.
So Alexander Sarr is what the NBA is moving to at the center position. It's this new versatile center that can block shots, but also has the potential to stretch the floor, giving you Chet Holmgren type vibes, right? And not only can you do that, but you can play in various different defensive lineups. And that comes to his biggest strength, defensive versatility. He's an excellent shot blocker, can move well. He moves well into space. His rotations are pretty superb for his age. I think he's a younger prospect. Because he has high level versatility to also guard in switches on the perimeter, he has some excellent tape guarding wings out on the perimeter. And at 7'1" with a 7'4.5" wingspan, this guy he has, not only when he gets beat, he has the recoverability and foot speed to get back and block shots. And so that's really what you're looking for out of your center in the modern NBA, that type of versatility. And not just that, offensively, he has the potential to shoot the three down the line. Now, he took about only one three-pointer a game, but he only played in about 17 minutes per game. So everybody has to remember he played for the Perth Wildcats and in the NBL. And in EuroLeague, they don't care about you being a young up-and-coming player. You only play if you can help contribute to wins. And he played a significant amount. He played 17 minutes per game coming off the bench. Not a whole lot, not as much as we usually see from prospects, but I think that is a lot for a European club. So they trusted him to come on and play important minutes, and I think he delivered with 9.7 points in 17 minutes a game, as well as 1.3 blocks. And so per 36, you can kind of just double those stats, 20 and 2, a little over 2 blocks. So this guy is a really polished defender with upside. He only shot about 29% from three last year, but the form and mechanics are are very sound. And he took enough threes. He's not shy about them. He gets them up in bunches and quick. And so that gives you the modern day NBA center where you are this defensive versatile prospect who can play on the perimeter, who can clean up and shot block, as well as stretch the floor, which works perfectly next to Alperen Sengun, our young up-and-coming star. And so that is why I think Alexander Sarr is probably squarely put as would be number one on the Rockets board for all of those reasons.
I love the idea of the Rockets getting a kind of a different look at the potential backup 5 spot, or again, a piece that could be complementary alongside Alperen Sengun, especially if the Rockets eventually decide that they want to go all in on Sengun as one of their cornerstone pieces and really try to build the perfect team around him. Imagine being able to slot Alex Sarr in at the 4 and then potentially sliding Jabari down to the 3, right? Have all that length, all that size, occupying space around Alperen Sengun. Again, Jabari's got basically a 7-footer himself, right? Just imagine him and Alex Sarr, their wingspan blocking everything, down in the corners. But then on top of that, giving Ime Udoka a really versatile piece like that to mold and grow and be able to throw in different, defensive schemes, that kind of stuff would be really exciting to see. For anybody who hasn't watched Sarr play, do you have a couple names in mind, like comps that you would draw that you would compare him to?
Yeah, I actually have this broken down into low outcomes, like low-end outcomes, median outcomes, and high-end outcomes.
Okay, I like that.
So I'll give you a couple names for each. So we'll start with the low, and we'll save the best for last. So low-end outcomes, you're looking at guys like Channing Frye, Chris Boucher from the Toronto Raptors, and even, Rockets' favorite, Jacques
Boucher.
Is it Boucher?
Put the respect on his French name. No, it's Chris Boucher.
I don't know why.
You get.
Right, yeah. But he brings that type of skill set. And so let's say he brings a little bit of the shooting and the blocking, but it's just not enough to be consistent enough to be a starter. Then he'll be looking to look a
serviceable
bit like
rotation player.
Yeah, serviceable rotation player. So these are his low-end outcomes. I mean, we expect at the very least he'll do some of that. And let's say the three-point shooting hits, but he never really comes around defensively. Then you're looking at like a Shannon Fry. And Jacques Landale is if, you can do a little bit of everything, but not at a high enough level to start. And so those are the low-end outcomes. The median in outcomes is Nick Claxton. You'll hear this as a defensive comparison out there in the world, in the draft world. So I think Nick Claxton is his closest defensive profile, a guy who can get out on the perimeter. He's kind of built like Claxton, long and lanky, and he'll be able to move. He'll be able to move in space very well like Claxton. And if the jumper never comes around, it'll be similar to Nick Claxton's role, as well as Serge Ibaka. And so that's the case. If the jumper comes around a little bit and he's still this menacing force defensively, especially shot blocking, you can expect something like Serge Ibaka. And I think also Miles Turner is another good comp in the median outcomes. Okay. And lastly, the big ones is the high end outcomes.
The 99th percentile.
Yeah,
let's go.
This is the 99th percentile. So I'd say the rookie year Chet Holmgren, not Chet Holmgren's upside, but the rookie year Chet Holmgren. So the way Chet Holmgren played this year, averaging around 18 to 19 points a game, can shoot it a bit, and is a force defensively on the perimeter as well as in the paint. And lastly, if he starts to get more of an offensive creation game and add a little bit more, Kristaps Porzingis. I think Kristaps Porzingis is one of those high-end outcomes. I don't think he'll actually make these outcomes. I don't think they're likely outcomes. I don't. So those are not the things that I would really bet on. I would bet him to make some of his median outcomes. But if he just hits that high 1% outcome, I think Kristaps Porzingis is a guy that is his ceiling.
Okay, I like that. I like those high end, but honestly, the median outcomes, it seems those are the more likely outcomes. I kind of like some of the names on the list, right? You're talking about a Miles Turner for a median level outcome. I could get behind that. All right, we're gonna shift gears here, but not too much because we've still got another big man to talk about here at the top of the draft. We're gonna get to Donovan Clingan from UConn. We're gonna get there in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by Yahoo Finance. When it comes to your financial future, you think that you've done it all, right? You've saved, you've researched, you've invested all that you can. Now you need to take those investments to the next level by using what every financial great uses. That's Yahoo Finance. For more than 25 years, Yahoo Finance has been the brand behind every great investor. Whether you're a seasoned investor or looking to get that extra guidance, Yahoo Finance gives you all the tools and data that you need all in one place. They are the #1 finance destination, producing a holistic look at the financial news cycle, including breaking news, original editorial perspectives, analyst ratings, independent research, customizable charts, and so much more. With a community of over 90 million users each and every month, the real strength is helping you on your way to financial success. For comprehensive financial news and analysis, visit the brand behind every great investor, yahoofinance.com, the #1 financial destination, yahoofinance.com. That's yahoofinance.com. And continuing on here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. All right, Madison, the next name that you've got teed up here on this list for us is Donovan Clingan from UConn. This dude is massive. He is a mountain of a human being. Stands at 7'2" with a 7'7" wingspan. This dude screams to me like, and I only know a little bit on the surface about him, but this dude screams to me like your traditional like lumbering. I'm gonna just block everything at the rim. You're never going to score in the paint. And I dare you to come at me, in the paint or around the rim. And honestly, again, a defensive minded big like that gives the Rockets potentially another look at things, right? A complete inverse and a flip from Alperen Sengun. And I'd be very curious to see what Ime Udoka could do with somebody like that on the roster.
Yeah, I put Donovan Clingan here because Donovan Clingan has a lot of upside, I think. He's a very solid prospect, especially in a draft like this. I think he has to be considered in the top 3. And it's really funny because I think he's like the opposite of Alexander Sarr, where Alexander Sarr is this new shiny thing, this new modern center, when Donovan Clingan is a blast from the past. And he is one of these big,
the tried and true big man, right?
Tried and true, the original drop big man, right? But what's so incredible about Donovan Clingan is he actually moves very, very well for his size. And with that 7'7" wingspan, he's actually able to recover and drop very well. And so he's not going to do a lot of switching and guarding out in the perimeter, perimeter, but he's going to play drop very well, and he often is deceptively fast and quick and recovers very well for his size. And so when you add that to his big body, he is probably the best screener in this draft. This guy is going to set these big lumbering screens. And when you look at the types of guys the Rockets tried to bring to this team and have brought to these team, Steven Adams, going after Brook Lopez, right? These big traditional drop centers who can guard the paint, who can guard these bigger guys. We've seen Valanciunas just absolutely kill us. This is the type of guy that will stop all of that. This is the type of guy you can put on a Nikola Jokic, on a Joel Embiid, on a Valanciunas, and really stop them. We've seen that in the national championship game as he, effectively played why am I losing the Purdue center's name?
Edey.
Edey, yes. He guarded Edey very well in the second half and made it really tough for him in the second half of that game. And that is where a lot of his value comes from. But not just that. That's just defensively, right? That's just what he can handle defensively. The most underrated part of his game is he's a superb passer out of the high elbows. A lot of the stuff that Sengun does with dribble handoffs, with making plays out of those, Clingan can do a lot of those things, and that's where his upside really lies. He's an adequate finisher at the rim. He's a great roller to the rim and finisher, a play finisher. He's a big body, a big target off drop-offs and in out of the dunker spot. But that passing is what really makes him special, and that is how you can tell that he's a very high field player who probably is going to translate his defense, if not year one, at least year by year two. So I think he's a very safe prospect and a really good one for us to have.
We've seen how important passing can be from your bigs, right? Bigs who have, decent hands, who are not going to fumble the ball the moment they touch it, right? If you can be effective, especially like in the short roll in today's NBA, like just look at the way that the Knicks play their offense using Isaiah Hartenstein. I mean, he was flirting with a triple-double in their Game 2 win against the Pacers. In fact, he might have actually gotten the triple-double. At one point, he had 7 assists, maybe 8. But it's because of the way that the Pacers were guarding things out of the pick and roll with him and Jalen Brunson. And then Hartenstein was the guy in charge of making those reads out of the middle of the floor. So if Clingan can be that type of big to actually make quality reads, whether it be little elbow kind of, drop off passes or, little handoffs, that kind of thing, either way, that's a really good upside play for him. What would you give me? What's kind of the biggest weakness in his game currently at this point?
Yeah, so I think probably the biggest weakness in Clingan's game is it's going to be the lack of versatility on the perimeter and also staying in shape. So Clingan had a very slow start to the year due to injury. So he had a couple of knick-knack injuries, and it really took a long time for him to get in shape. It almost took half the season for him to get in shape, and so his game really suffered. And I think that's one of the biggest issues. He's really a safe prospect, but I worry that if he gets injured, will he get out of shape? It's hard to keep that big body moving and in shape and producing at a high level. So I would be most worried about that with Clingan. And really also maybe jump shooting. He's only a 50% shooter from the free throw line. And he didn't take many threes, although there is some upside there. I like his mechanics very well. And even though he didn't take a lot of them, he shot many more in high school and actually shot them at a decent rate in high school.
Okay. All right. So we're going to get into some of your comps here, but I'm going to take a stab at 2 of your comps, of your high-end comps.
Okay. Let's see it.
I think one of them is going to be Brook Lopez.
Okay.
Am I right?
Brook Lopez is a comp. It just is not the high end.
Oh, okay. So it's a median outcome. Yes. Okay. So Brook Lopez is a median outcome. My other comp that I had is Rudy Gobert.
Ooh, Rudy Gobert is not one of my comps.
Okay, all right.
Just because I think his frame is different.
Okay, that's all. Fair. Okay, I'll take my credit for getting the Brook Lopez one. But all right, let's start on the low end like we did before. So, what are your low end kind of floor outcomes for Clingan comp wise?
All right, I got some blasts from the class. Eric Dampier, One of those big, yeah, I got we're testing your basketball knowledge, guys. Eric Dampier, how invested are you in the NBA? Go look up Eric Dampier, serviceable starting big man for the Dallas Mavericks all through Dirk Nowitzki's career.
Oh my goodness,
he was actually very terrible, guys. It was a shame he actually started. But Eric Dampier, Brendan Haywood, just these guys who take up space, can get rebounds and add toughness, but really have no skill and add pretty much nothing.
Their skill is just being big. That is their skill.
Exactly. That's literally their skill. Those were the type of players that T-Mac used to dunk on all the time. But yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, got it. All right, so that's his low end.
Yeah, and low. And last one, Robin Lopez is one for people who need another.
Okay. I'm you know what? I'm not gonna lie. I think it's a little disrespectful that Robin Lopez is getting lumped in with Brendan Haywood and Eric Dampier. Like Rolo has been like okay in his career. Like, I think Rolo you're right. Rolo's at least at the top of that low end outcome.
Yes,
that's all
he's at the top. Yes, and it's levels to even at the ends. Okay. Okay. But yeah, look, come on, let's get through the medians. So this one, Rockets fans should know. And I think this is actually a good one. And I think this is who he'll come in day one and be. Omer Asik.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the deep cut right there. No, so Omer Asik, I think, is an excellent thing. Similar body types, big bodies, moved well in drop coverage, have some certain type of limitations, aren't the best finishers, but when it counted, man, Omer Asik actually came through with for the Rockets and finished well. So I think that's a really good one. I think that is probably what his rookie year looks like if he plays significant minutes. And I think he has the IQ to come in and do what Omer Asik does. And like you said, Brook Lopez. I think Brook Lopez, if you add some of the jump shot in the future, if he develops that 5-6 years down the line, I think that can be like a latent skill, adding that jump shot late. And lastly, I have two more. Steven Adams, who we have now, which I think will be a great mentor for him, and Jacob Poeltl. So Jacob Poeltl at Toronto does a lot of the things. He's a good passer. He's a good shot blocker, and he's a good drop center. So I think those are really good median outcomes that I think are pretty safe outcomes that he will be. Okay,
I like those. I'm very curious what your high end outcomes are going to be now, because I would have thought that if the shot if he somehow becomes an outside 3-point threat, I was like, okay, that's got to be a top end like 99th percentile outcome. Let's go, because we're talking Brook Lopez, like DPOY candidate, knockdown 3-point shooter. Like that's an elite player right there. So if that's the median, give me your top end outcomes.
Yeah, man. Okay, so one of them is Brad Miller. So I know not a lot of people know Brad Miller from the Kings, but he was an all-star player.
They should know Brad Miller.
Yeah, some people are young. Some people are younger, man. Oh, he did play for the Rockets. He did. Yes, and was still good. But Brad Miller offered some shooting, some toughness, some passing.
The passing for Brad Miller's game.
Exactly. Yeah, he had all this. You know what I mean? I think that's a deep cut, lower high-end outcome for him. I also have Vlade Divac. You know, Vlade was a little bit more mobile than him, but I think the creativity, the passing is really one of those high-end skills, and also a big body with defensive acumen. But this is the one that I really think is his high-end.
The Holy Grail?
This is the Holy Grail, man. Okay. This is the one. Marc Gasol. I think Marc Gasol is his high-end outcome, and I think there's a good chance he can get there. If he goes to the right team that develops him the right way, he won't be there for another 5 or 6 years, but just steady operating as a passer out of the screen and rolls, dribble handoffs, and at the top of the key. I think he can develop the finishing package around the rim, and they have very similar body types. And I expect him to be a just equally good screener, and they both are very, very intelligent players. I think that is his high-end outcome, and that's who he will be if he reaches it.
Marc Gasol, that's a sneaky good pick. And you're right. When I think about Marc Gasol, right, playmaking was always a really underrated part of his game, facilitating the offense for those Grizzlies teams, even with the Raptors eventually when they scooped him up on their title run. Like, he was a really important part of their offense as well. Wow. Okay. I like those. Those are some strong picks. All right, cool. We got one more name to get to here, though, in just one moment, as well as we're going to tackle a quick question at the end that, could any of these prospects ultimately fall out of the top 3 or top 4 and maybe be available to the Rockets with their current pick at pick 9 if it doesn't jump up? We're going to get to that segment here in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for timed tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes that you can unlock. And there's so much to get your hands on, like unique stickers that you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes, cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with, hilarious emojis for taunting your friends when you smash their buildings or when you heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every single day with constantly changing tournaments and different challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot pachinko machine. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go, so get off the bench and go download now free on the Google Play Store or the App Store. Again, go download Monopoly Go free on the Google Play Store or the App Store. And final segment here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Now, I'm going to preface this segment by saying that I did not spend nearly as much time as the previous few years, like looking at these prospects and getting into the draft stuff. I'm working on that right now, getting myself up to speed, looking at these guys, starting to tackle some film and get kind of comfortable with some of these prospects. The third guy here that Madison has teed up for us, I know literally nothing about. Stephon Castle from UConn, so also teammate of Donovan Clingan. So you're gonna have to walk me through this one, Madison. What's the deal with Stephon Castle? And also, here's my issue right from the jump: why are the Rockets taking another guard?
Yeah, man, I know it's tough. The Rockets, if the Rockets get up into the top four and those two big men are gone, they really have to still go upside, right? They really have to still go upside. And the thing about Stephon Castle is, yes, he's a guard, but he's a very, very versatile one. Stephon Castle is a wing/guard. He can play a little point guard. He can play a little wing. He can play on and off ball. And he is a dog defensively. He is a Ime Udoka type of guy. And he's really bursting with a lot of potential. He just needs to be developed in the right way. It's not a guy who has to come and play right away, but I think he actually will be able to get on the floor because he's just going to be that good defensively. And he will be able to play with every player on this roster. He just will, because he is such a smart, uncanny player that moves so well without the ball in his hands. And he also can initiate offense. And so when we look at Amen Thompson, there's a question, will he actually be able to initiate offense? Will the handle ever get there where he will be able to initiate offense? Well, you add in Stephon Castle, and you have a guy that backs up just in case Amen can't get there to initiate an offense. And if he does get there, guess what? Stephon Castle could still play on the wing, right, and help you there. It is another high upside guy. Now, his biggest weakness is he's not a very good three-point shooter. His mechanics are a bit clunky. They are almost like a catapult, and it's not all in one motion. But I think they are very simple fixes. And I believe in our staff developing this guy in their image, and he fits Ime Udoka's pedigree. And I think he can be a point guard of the future as well as play on the wing. So I think that is why I chose Stephon Castle. I think he has one of the highest upsides in this draft, and he just needs to be developed the right way.
You know, I'm really torn because I do think one of the benefits of having a guy like Amen Thompson on your roster is, first of all, I'm still fairly confident in Amen's ability to at least get the handle to a point where he's, you know, comfortable being a full-time primary ball handler. I don't know so much about the shot. That's going to be kind of the bigger question mark in his career trajectory. But there's already at least a blueprint that exists for a guy with Amen Thompson's skill set, you know, increase the handle, right? Slide it up to like a 90, whatever on, you know, your 2K ratings. If he at least increases the handle, then you put the ball in his hands, you surround him with shooters, and then like that's still a blueprint for success. So if Stephon Castle can get to a point where he can play off ball and where the shot's working, then yeah, those two can absolutely coexist. You can just put the ball in Amen Thompson's hands. I'm still not sold on it. So he's a dog defensively. Yes. He's incredibly versatile. So, I mean, maybe let's get into the comps. Maybe that'll help like sell me a little bit more on him quicker.
Yeah. So just to give you a little bit more context. Okay. Sure. So Castle.
This is my first time hearing about him.
Yeah. Okay.
And this is a lot of LOR fans first time hearing about Stephon Castle. So
Stephon Castle is a defense first player, but he played a lot on ball and off ball. And this is what I think. Next year, if let's say Fred VanVleet goes down at any amount of time, like for any large span of time, we're really going to struggle to initiate offense with only Jalen Green and Alperen Sengun able to actually initiate. We need another secondary or tertiary player. We need another guy who can get into our sets and also play off of them, right? I don't know if Amon next year will reach that level.
Disrespect to Aaron Holiday, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, are we bringing him back? I don't know.
We don't know. We don't know if we're bringing Aaron. But you're right. There's only two primary ball handlers on the team right now. It's Jalen and Fred. Amin is not there yet. Now, he might be next season, but we don't know. It's still a question mark. So I get where you're going.
Exactly. And so let's get into some of these comps. So the low ends are really bad, okay? Because there is a lot of polish that needs to be done with Castle's game. He is a project offensively. So the low end is Chris Dunn. So Chris Dunn, just tough, hard-nosed defender, but did not develop any other part of his game. Exactly.
So Castle and Jabari are going to get along great. Got it.
Right. Yeah. And Hamidou Diallo, which was another versatile wing, big wing who played defense and couldn't do anything else. So that's if he doesn't develop any other part of his game. I doubt that he will turn out to be these guys. All right. So the median outcomes are guys I think are very realistic for him. Jalen Suggs. Okay. So I think like if you added Jalen Suggs to our team, I bet you take him. It wouldn't be talking. You know what I mean? So Jalen Suggs, this hard-nosed point of attack defender who can play on and off ball of creators. But if you need to initiate, make the right read, Jalen Suggs could do that, as well as Cason Wallace. Cason Wallace is another guy out of that same thread. We see the impact of these guys in the playoffs right now with their physicality and defensive acumen. And the last one is Devin Vassell. And so that's if he starts to add some of that offensive package, right? He keeps his defense, he adds some of that offensive package, but it doesn't quite get to the superstar level or star level. And so those are some of the median outcomes.
Can I guess one of your high-end outcomes? Although
Sure.
now I don't know, because if we're talking like strictly star level high-end outcomes, but I'm gonna go with a name here. Derek White.
Ooh, Derek White's a great. I did not choose that one, but that's a great one.
As we've been talking about him, and I'm thinking about his size, his build, what he's supposed to be good. Okay, all right, I can get behind Derek White.
That's one of my favorites. Yeah, no, I'll add that. That is one of my favorites. Derek White is a very good comp. That's literally that wing point guard-ish kind of tweener guy, play on and off, and just excellent defender. And that shot comes on later. And
yeah, because
so
Derek White couldn't shoot. He went to San Antonio, and then he figured out how to shoot with what was the shooting England. There we go, Chip England.
No, I thought it was actually our guy.
Oh no, you're right. It was. Yeah. I'm an idiot. It was Ben Sullivan
yes,
because he was in San Antonio, got traded to Boston when Sullivan was with Boston, and then his 3-point percentage skyrocketed up from that half season to the next year. Okay, got it. All right.
Yeah, that's such a good cop, y'all. Like that is the one. Look at Jackson, man. He ain't even seen this guy play.
All right. But give me your other comps though, because I'm curious where you were going with it.
So we've all been looking for this guy. We always want this type of guy, and we know the Rockets value them incredibly. Jrue Holiday. Jrue Holiday is a very realistic comp for Stephon Castle if he hits his high end. He's a 6'6" guy, so he's big, and he's a very strong player. He plays very strong, and his offensive game can look a lot like Jrue Holiday's. He likes to bully guys in the paint, hit guys with floaters, and then that occasional three-pointer. We know Jrue isn't the greatest three-point shooter in the world, but he's an adequate one.
Enough to keep defenses honest, which is ultimately what you want. If you've got a guy that's that much of a Swiss Army knife, does a little bit of everything, you don't also have to be an elite three-point shooter. Just respectable will get you a really far way. At this point, Rockets are basically going to become Celtics West, because you got Ime Udoka, you're going to have future Derek White / Jrue Holiday, and then you've got future Jalen Brown with Cam Whitmore.
Cam Whitmore, there it is. I mean, we building the blueprint, man. This is MA's team. All right, so that was one. Another one I have is DeJounte Murray. I think DeJounte Murray is a really good comp for him, a guy who struggled to shoot early on, kind of needed to develop through the process, but emerged as an all-star level player.
Is he explosive like Murray, like athletically? Because Murray's got a little explosiveness to his game.
Yeah, it's about similar. It's similar. Yeah, now they have a similar level of explosive ability, but the way they get after it as point attack defenders, the development of their offensive games can be similar because Murray had a lot of work to do, but the way they move off ball and in their energy defensively kind of fuels their game is very similar. Okay. All right. And here's the Holy Grail. This is the one. This is the one he really can be and what we're really shooting for. Okay. Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is his real comp, and that is. And if you listen to draft circles, that is not unique to me. A lot of people believe Jimmy Butler is a realistic outcome from Stephon Castle. Like Jimmy Butler was a project as well. Stephon Castle is a project as well. But Jimmy Butler's offensive game is the exact type of offensive game that Stephon Castle has. But Stephon Castle has more high feel as a passer. Okay. So, but when you talk about moving without the ball, you just in the right place at the right time, crazy tip-ins, always getting feeds from Clingan, always moving. You're just like, how's this guy getting buckets? Like 8 to 10 points a game, just moving without the ball, energy plays, steals. You know, the way he plays defense is very similar to Jimmy Butler. The way Jimmy Butler gets his steals and gets out in the break and kind of lives in that area in transition. He plays very smart. He moves very similar to Jimmy Butler. The only part of Jimmy Butler's game I really think he doesn't have is the mid-range game. He's not a shot creator yet, but Jimmy Butler didn't start with that either. He kind of just got it with hard-nosed effort, and he just is this positive player. Like you see Jimmy Butler in the regular season, that's kind of how Stephon Castle plays right now. And also not the best shooter, but can make them when he needs to. So that's who Castle is.
I'm okay. You've sold me on the idea of Castle. Not over either of the two bigs that we talked about already, but I like him, enough right now. Just with the way we're talking about him and thinking about with the Rockets where they're at right now, right? Is like I feel like they've only got like one really elite point of attack defender, and that's Thompson. I feel like Dillon, has at least for the last like 1/3 of the season or so, a little lost a step, like the lateral quickness not quite there, would get blown by sometimes. Fred, same thing, the lateral quickness not quite there. Great defenders, great team defenders as well, but the Rockets really only have one lockdown point of attack guy. Even though Tari and Jabari are much improved defenders and they're both really good in their own right, those are not point of attack defenders, right? Those are great wing defenders, guys that provide great help defense, make the hustle plays, right? Can be physical, but they're not point of attack guys. Imagine a defense led by Stephon Castle and Thompson as your backcourt. That could be a lot to work with if you're Ime Udoka. We're seeing just how impactful some of the really elite point of attack defenders have been throughout this postseason already for teams like the Magic, like the Knicks currently. I like it. Okay, I'm into it. Now, here's the big one is we did this whole episode because the Rockets have the chance for their pick to jump into the top 4. We probably could have done this for each prospect as we were navigating them, but we'll just tuck it in here at the end. Of these guys, what's the lowest you could see each of them dropping in this draft? Like, so their rank, any one of them could go number 1 overall. I think we've established that. There's not a consensus number 1. What's the lowest you could see any of them slipping?
Well,
or we'll do each one. So let's start Sarr and then Clingan. Then
So Sarr, I don't think will make it outside the top 3. I honestly, whoever gets in the top 3, 4, I don't think Sarr will make it outside. So you probably have to get it up. He is the most unanimous guy, and even though he may not go number 1, one of those top 3 or 4 teams are going to take Sarr because he's just what the modern NBA is looking for. Now, as far as Clingan goes, right? Clingan, I don't think will make it past the Memphis Grizzlies. He is the ultimate guy to pair with Ja Morant, especially they're in the market for a center now. And this is a very strong center draft. And I think he is Steven Adams 2.0, step in right away, high-level prospect that is going to be able to contribute day one and probably start. And him combined with Jaren Jackson really is going to be a formidable force. So I think he doesn't go past Memphis. So we'll have to jump up to probably get him as well. Now, Castle, I think teams are going to be smart, and I don't think he'll be able to actually make it to our pick, but I think he has the highest chance. And I just did a community draft with Mavs Draft on Twitter, and Stephon Castle made it to us at number 9. So I selected him. I had no choice. There was too much value at 9. And that's really, I think the crux of this is this draft is kind of so even keel that you don't want to be at the top. You want to catch the guys falling and where the value really is, because you don't want to be paying those guys those high salaries at number 1. You want to, 9 is a really good sweet spot for the Rockets in the draft. I think they're going to be able to get a really good guy with high value at that pick.
Okay. All right. I like it. Now, here's the way we got to wrap up this episode.
Okay.
Is we got to do a lottery sim. And here's the problem. We did this whole episode based on the hypothetical of the Rockets jumping to the top 4 with one of their picks at a minimum. So I'm going to spin the lottery wheel until they get into the top 4. So this could be embarrassingly bad, because I'm set up over here and I'm going to start spinning this wheel and we're going to see how bad this is. All right. So spin number 1. No top 4 pick. All right. So that's 1 spin down. So we got 1 spin. No top 4 pick. No top 4 pick. No top 4 pick. No top. All right, we are 5 spins into this. This is not great. Still no. That's 6. That's 7. That's 8. Okay. Whew, we got one finally. All right, we got one on the 9th spin. Let this be a lesson that the Tankathon spin simulator does not beat Jackson Gatlin 10 times in a row. Okay. All right. So here we go. On the 9th spin, we got it. All right. So it's Pistons number 1 on the board. Rockets landed the number 2 pick via the Brooklyn Nets pick. So they did lose their own pick, which is likely to happen to the OKC Thunder, but they got the number 2 overall pick. So we'll play this out really quickly, Madison, before we wrap this up. Try to take your red tinted shades off for a second. You're the Pistons. Who do you think they're taking number 1 overall?
They're going to take Sarr.
They're going to take Sarr.
It's either Sarr or Ricochet, and that really we need to know their GM, because they're about to get a new GM. But yeah, I think they'll go Sarr. They have a lot of young prospects, but he fits best. He's the best prospect.
Okay, all right. So Sarr goes to Detroit. Rockets are on the board. And if you're Rafael Stone, you're taking Clingan, number 2?
I think I have to. I think I have to go with Clingan, even though I do kind of want to, I'm interested in Castle, but I think I have to go with Clingan. I think him developing behind Steven Adams, you don't have to rush him. You really get him up to speed. You have him shooting. I think it's a great versatility of bigs that we for the future that we'll have. We've talked about this a little bit, right? Is the Rockets, if they do draft somebody, if they don't move the pick, if they do hold on to it, whatever young player they draft with that Nets pick or their own pick, if it jumps up or whatever, potentially 2 players. We're getting greedy now. No, but whoever they draft, they're going to have the benefit of being able to slow play their development, right? Bring them along slowly. They're not going to have to rely on it or lean on this rookie right out of the gate. It might be a situational thing. Like if it is a Clingan type, then maybe situationally he'll get some spot minutes next season in a matchup where they're like, you know what, we could throw Steven Adams out there, but let's give Donovan 5 minutes here and see how he does in a certain matchup against, Valanciunas for half a game of basketball or whatever. I don't know. But yes. I do like that. Okay. All right. Now, overall, a successful episode. Didn't take 10 spins, didn't take double-digit spins to get a jump into the top 4. Hopefully the Rockets will have some lottery luck on their side this Sunday. It also coincides with Mother's Day. But Madison, on that note, you know the drill. Let everybody know where they can track you down at, man. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter or X at MadmanLeaks. Come talk Rockets basketball with me.
That's going to do it for another edition of Locked On Rockets. As always, thank you so much for checking out the show. If you haven't done so yet, please consider subscribing wherever you listen to your podcasts or on YouTube. Just search Locked On Rockets. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're listening via Apple Podcasts, a 5-star review helps us out a ton. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. We look forward to having you back right here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball.